Good morning. Good morning to the citizens of Douglas County and to the Board of Commissioners. Welcome to our January 17th, 2023 Tuesday work session. Hope everyone had a great MLK holiday and also a wonderful weekend. I'm calling this meeting to order, and this meeting being calling to order. I'm sorry this morning, y'all. I'm stumbling. Forgive me. I would like to start with roll call with the Board of Commissioners. District 1 Commissioner Henry Mitchell III. Okay, he'll be here momentarily. District 2 Commissioner Kelly Robinson.
Present.
District 3 Commissioner and Vice Chairman Terenia Carthen.
Present.
District 4 Commissioner Mark Alcaraz.
Present.
And Dr. Ramona Jackson-Jones, Chairwoman, present. Again, I hope everyone had a wonderful weekend this morning. We'll start. Clerk, do we have anyone sign up for public comment this morning?
We did not, Chairman.
Okay. Thank you so much, Clerk, for providing me that information. Board of Commissioners, we have a few presentations this morning. We have with us this morning Nadia Fawcett, VP of Engineering at Greystone, here to present some pretty good news to us this morning regarding broadband, and certainly would like to bring her to the podium this morning so she could speak regarding the broadband initiative that's being brought forth by Greystone Power. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. It's actually a pleasure to be here on behalf of Greystone Power. I do want to introduce our team that's here with us today. We have Anitra. She is with our communications and PR team. We also have Blake Doss. He is our Director of State and Governmental Affairs. So you certainly, Blake joined us last year, and you'll certainly see more of Blake as the years go on. So I will be brief. I did want to share with you a little bit about broadband and what Greystone has decided to do in this space. I will start just letting you know our mission. Our mission statement at Greystone is making life better in the communities that we serve. And so we see as we go down this path, it really does fulfill our mission. We were started in 1936, and we've worked really since that time to provide reliable, low-cost power to many rural communities around the Douglas and Fulton, Paulding, Coweta, so on and so forth counties. And in Senate Bill 2 was passed in 2019. That was really the first opportunity for EMCs to get into the broadband space. And so since 2019, we have been studying, several feasibility studies over and over to really comb through the numbers and comb through also the need across our service territory to see what we go through and move through with this venture. And so in keeping with our mission, we are launching a pilot project throughout several of our counties to provide high-speed fiber to the home internet service. This pilot will include about 6,000 locations that we will pass, and we will really focus on unserved and underserved communities in reference to broadband access. The pilot project is proposed to provide broadband to Douglas County, the southern portion of Douglas County, some areas of Paulding County, some areas of Fulton County, to include the Chattahoochee Hills area, also to include some areas of Carroll County. And within the area that we lay out, no matter how rural that particular area is, each home will have access or have the ability to get access to fiber to the home broadband service. We do have a map that we can pass out to some of the board for you to take a look at. I do want to make sure you understand this is a conceptual design of our map to the proposed areas. There is a red line going through the map that, and just to reference you, that is I-20 passing through, and then you can see there the areas that we would be actually passing would include parts of southern Douglas County, Fulton, some of Carroll, and some of Paulding counties as well. Again, this is conceptual, so we're working with our consultant team to really define what area we will actually pass. And then I would love to come back to you to another work session to not only show you a finalized map, but also make sure we can zoom into the areas that are underserved or unserved in terms of broadband in Douglas County that we plan to address through this project.
All right, thank you so much, Mrs. Fawcett. We appreciate the presentation. Board of Commissioners, do we have any questions for Ms. Nadia Fawcett? Mrs. Fawcett? Okay, Commissioner Robinson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Fawcett, good to hear from you. Hope you're doing well in your team.
Question, sorry. Yes.
All right, I've got a couple questions just for clarity. Broadband.
Yes.
It's something that we hear about both at federal, state, and local levels. You know, it's the new year. The question I have is, can it be realized? Your words were every household. You know, we've got, you know, when I think about power, I think about EV to G5, then backing up to broadband, which has been here for a while. Is it something that I can repeat your words to my citizens, specifically District 2, which has a lot of this? I know rural, my colleague probably, Commissioner Alcaraz, may have more of an interest in what's going to go out west in the rural, in the southern parts. But specifically, how are you going to close that gap? I didn't hear that. How will you do that? How long will it take? And is there any expectation from the county to be a partner with you? If you can answer those three things, I'll yield the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. So yes, we are proposing this project. We'll actually start construction this year in 2023. And the area that we have laid out, that's why we do say it is a conceptual design, is we have partnered with a consultant company, and they are very good at providing broadband and working with co-ops like ourselves to do so. And so that is really our partner as far as doing the final design and layout, as far as doing the analysis and the feasibility study originally. And what has been proposed from that feasibility study is showing us in all of the counties that we serve where there are some underserved as well as unserved portions of each of those counties. And so when we take a look at this, I would say pilot project, and I say that because we call it a pilot, but definitely we expect it to be the first of additional phases in order to expand broadband or internet fiber to the home service to throughout the areas. But of course, we want to make sure that we address the areas that are unserved and underserved first. And then after doing so, we do expect to have our first subscriber, or be offering it to our first subscribers in 2024. As we continue to focus on this really business development, we just started the entity last month. We are in the early stages of this project. So we'd like to, that's why I say we'd like this to be the first of other meetings to come back and give you updates. But I'd love to be able to kind of zone in and make sure that the areas that we plan to cover in this first phase, you also see as areas of unserved. We've been using the Georgia's broadband availability map from the state of Georgia. That's really the source to make sure that we are on the right page as far as understanding which of those areas are unserved and underserved. Did I answer all of your questions? I'm sorry, Commissioner.
No, you've got your prior line. I'm good. I can hear what I need to hear.
Okay.
But specifically, what about the county's participation? I mean, I get it. So is there any expectation from the county that's important in hearing this? I hear it. I'm excited. I get where you're going. It's a process, but we're here and you're presenting as an education. Is there a role for government to play alongside of you in the private sector to make this realized?
So we don't have any expectation from the county. We have decided over, again, countless feasibility studies to really go down this path to fulfill our mission. So there is no expectation of any county within our service territory to participate really at any level. We would like to ask for your support, and we'll understand more about what that means as we go forth. But we are going to be funding this project completely with our own funds as we reach out to gain funds for the project. It is about a $14 to $15 million, probably about $16 million investment that we're putting across all of these counties. And we plan to use our own, of course, workforce to do that, potentially expanding our workforce over time once the project grows. But currently in the business development stage, from an investment standpoint, working with our consultant, we plan to go this completely using Greystone's funds and workforce, and just ask for your support as a county.
Very good. My closing comment, you answered me. I was asking about timeline, money, and the county's involvement, but that now helps shape, okay, so the ARP money we set aside for broadband, we may have opportunity to pick this up since you're going to carry the whole dollar. No, that's just for my peers, just for the record. I'm good. Thank you for that. I yield, Madam Chair.
That was the topic of discussion when I met with Nadia Fawcett and Mr. Gary Miller when they came to my office about a month ago with this big surprise, and certainly couldn't wait until this information was shared with the Board of Commissioners. It was music to our ears, and it was also an opportunity for this board to repurpose the money that we've allocated for broadband, which was really not, it was insignificant in comparison to what they're bringing forth. So I'm just really excited. Any other questions, board?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Alcarez, you have the floor.
I will tell you from District 4, we are very excited about this.
Awesome.
I have many constituents in my northwest corner and also my southwest corner of my district who this is one of the main things they just keep asking for, is because right now they have to use satellite internet, which is extremely slow. And so, back when, unfortunately, we was having to deal with COVID, it was very hard for their children to log in and do their public work. So those unserved areas, I'm very excited to hear that, and I thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you for saying that. I mean, we have certainly heard from the community, and many of the things you just mentioned, from schools to people saying, hey, this is life or death for us. This really is not just a business decision. And so that, of course, has been taken into consideration as we move forward. I did want to just mention one other thing that we've gotten a question on. This is a completely separate business. It will be a completely new subsidiary, a new name, a new logo. It will be completely separate from Greystone. So I do want to make sure that everyone understands that electric bills will not be affected by going into this venture. It really is a standalone business, and there could be no cross-subsidy. So I'll share that as well, but thank you for your comments there. We hope that it's not only just a big community impact, but also an economic development opportunity and driver as well.
I yield back, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner Alvarez. Any other questions? Vice Chair, you don't have anything to say? This is technology, and I'll touch bases with Commissioner Mitchell as well to see what he has to say about this amazing technology that's coming forward. You have the floor, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Fawcett, for bringing us the information. I think it is great, right? One of the things that we as a board thought about, well, I know I had conversations with my colleagues about, was do we get into it, right? Because we were able to draw down those dollars that the government was actually, putting forth. And then we had other I guess you could say, private contractors who were coming to us because they couldn't access it like you can and we can, right? So we had people pulling at us to try to draw down those dollars, and then they would partner with us to do it. So, but I'm excited, right? Because you all do get to do the separate venture without us having to get into it, because it's so vital. And now that we have had to go through COVID and we've seen, the expansion of people having to do everything online, it is a breath of fresh air to hear that you all are going to do it, and we may not have to tackle that. So thank you.
Well, absolutely. And if you do see other opportunities or areas that we could do even more, we're certainly open to hear more. So thank you so much.
Only because you're forcing me to say something.
Yes, absolutely.
No, I too think this is a great idea for you guys to take part in this. My only question, though, would be why the separation of Greystone and this particular project? Not that it has any true meaning, but why the separation of?
Great question. It really is because of Senate Bill 2 and how the legislation came across that we do have to operate separately. Mm-hmm. So like I said, we are standing up a new subsidiary. Mm-hmm. But the fiber that will be basically the transport fiber across our system will be owned by Greystone. The subsidiary will own the electronics and all the other smaller pieces of the business, and will lease the access to that fiber from Greystone Power. So
Got it.
in a sense, we're infrastructure company, and we
Right.
have the poles, we have access to fiber, we have also the history and experience with using fiber today. That's when we do have our smart grid network, we utilize fiber for much of that as well. So it only makes sense for us to go in the business, but just with the legislation and how it's written, we do have to keep those things separately.
Got it.
But we can utilize some of the transport fiber just as long as the other subsidiary is paying a lease access fee for that.
Got it. Well, thank you, and I appreciate it. And again, as my colleagues have stated, though, it's good to see and hear someone like a Greystone and others that want to move this ball down the court. And I think this is going to be a great look for the county for sure, though. So thank you again, and I appreciate it. So again, I yield back, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Mitchell, and thank you so much, Vice Chair. I hear you, Commissioner Robinson, you have the floor.
Yeah, no, I'll be quick. Clarity, you mentioned you want to be an economic development catalyst, perhaps. You mentioned, permanently emphasizing the residential component. I want to make sure I heard this. So you're going to make a real investment. If you're talking about economic development, I'm thinking Riverside. I'm thinking the east side of the county. The reason we've got those 8 data centers out there, because, obviously when they built all that, they laid the infrastructure. I mean, like Jed Clampett, we wouldn't have the largest nexus on the eastern seaboard without somebody before us laying that down. We didn't understand what dark fiber and all that stuff was to enable these big things. So as you're thinking about this, as you're partnering, are you thinking about this toward the west? Are you involved in our economic development, our future land use map? I mean, are you really mapping this? Is it just for the houses to plug up to it? Or are you being a strategic partner to see, like, okay, if you're gonna do this, lay it out there? And so that's where I'm still back, like, I hear you. But are y'all committed to do minimally with the residential, or are you really committed to that economic engine that is so vital for us to move forward into the future? Can you answer that? And I yield after that. Thank you.
Great question. I think our focus at this point has truly been the unserved and underserved. As we see the way the world is going, I think COVID showed all of us the great need there. I think that we do have an opportunity that we've already moved forward on for the Riverside area, in just that we have a partnership with the Development Authority. The fiber that is there today is in our power space. We have an agreement with the Development Authority in order to be able to have that infrastructure there, and we're helpful in trying to get it there so that we could be a catalyst for economic development in that realm. But we do see, again, expanding out this project even further from this first pilot, or in other words, phase. So I think that when we look to expand out, that's where we'll look to see, are there other opportunities outside of giving other residents and commercial residents a choice, as well as are there areas that we can even be more strategic to offer for an economic development standpoint.
That's sufficient. Thank you very much. Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion, board? All right, thank you so much, Mrs. Fawcett, for coming in today. Certainly this was good music to our ears, and I couldn't hold it. I wanted, immediately when you met with me, and you and Mr. Gary Miller, who's the president and CEO of Greystone, and brought the information to me right around the holiday time, and I wanted the board to know immediately, but of course wanted it to be in more formality, and then allow the citizens to hear as well. So thank you for this opportunity, and we appreciate what Greystone is doing for our community here in Douglas County.
Absolutely. It's a great pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, Board of Commissioners, we're going to move on to our next presentation, which is a SPLOST update. We have Mr. David Good with us this morning, Mr. Terry Gable, who's with us as well, and the entire team from Atlas, I believe, is here this morning. Thank you so much again. All right, good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning.
How are you guys doing this day?
Doing well.
This has not come up yet. So this is my first time in this matter. Oh, there it goes. Thank you very much, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, Board of Commissioners, stakeholders, as well as citizens of Douglas County. Again, my name is David Good, and I'm here to bring you the SPLOST updates first the revenue from November and then the SPOS activities through December. As you see on the agenda, we don't have any projects that was completed in December, but we'll be talking about the activities in fire EMS, transportation, and parks and rec. Of course, right now our finances are remaining strong. In November, we brought in $3,102,379. And as you know, we get 72.26%. And though this was $1 million over our original revenue, our amount for the county is $2,241,779.07. So our total revenues from April till November is $163,259,156. And that's about $24 million over the over the original projection. Next slide is actually showing you the nexus going for a year from December of 2021 until November of 2022. And that amount is around $36 million. The amount that's going to come to the county is $26 million. And that's in about an average of $3 million per month. This is the first solid year that we're showing that our revenues are standard at $3 million. Next slide is going to be first fire station number 4. As you guys know, this was one of the projects that Madam Chair was pushing because of the conditions that was inside that firehouse. We have $300,000 committed for the SPOS, and the total cost is $846,026. We're waiting the final permit for that project, and we're working on a change order. And this project is estimated to be completed in August of this year. Next up is the Stewart Mill at Reynolds Road. That cost is at $2,123,427, done by the Corbett Group, which is actually a local firm out here in Douglas County. And then construction is about 15% complete as of the end of the year. And finally, we have the Nature Preserve at Dog Park. This is a dog park that's going to be there, and the budget is $75,000, and we're just working on the specification for the construction cost. And with that, this is a short presentation with that, Madam Chair. I yield, and we have Terry Gable here to help answer any questions.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Good. Board of Commissioners, any questions or any discussion regarding this SPLOST update? Okay, Commissioner Robinson.
All right, real quick. So $2.2 million is what the county realized, meaning after the cities take. Is that correct? And
For
so,
the month or for the
month.
Yes.
2.2. All right, got it. So what was our, go back and Terry, maybe to help historically, what did we originally program from a revenue perspective on day one forward? What was the cost about? How much did we estimate that we get every month?
For the county, we
For the county.
we were thinking we would get 106 overall and a little bit under 1.7 for the county. The overall was in the beginning was 1.9, and it went up 1.1% every year total.
No, stay with me. 1.7. This is for my peers. Stay with the math. Don't overestimate revenue. Don't anticipate what you cannot control. And I'm gonna get into year over year versus, month over month prior. 1.7, and we're at 2.2. Right, 1.7 is what we programmed almost 5.5 years ago. Right, 1.7. We're at 2.2, about a $500,000 separation. We went through what we went through coming out of the Great Recession healthily. We had the COVID. We got a little lift. And so, I mean, we're having this, we'll get into this later on, but I had to touch on your facts about don't bet on that 3.1. Don't bet on that 2.2. Make sure that your expenses are aligned, that you really comprehend what things are going to cost. You ain't going to be able to stuff this. And again, I keep hearing the emphasis on revenue, like, okay, guys, but you can't control what's happening out in the broader market. We have no control over that loss. Not like that. I'm really careful because by the time we get together in another meeting, we've got to lock up what this SPLOST 22 is going to be. So this is the basis for that. Again, look how much we don't punch through. I get it. But you can't assume that it's going to extend forward. And I just want to be careful with my peers as my committee chairs. I'm obviously close this thing out over the next couple of weeks, that we get this thing right. And that you set your own citizens' expectations and your committees about what's going to go forward. And I'm serious about this. Like, look at us. And I get staff, really from my peers, because staff is not, y'all are removed from the pressures that we have. If we miss, if it misses, the board takes the hit. The board made a decision. The board sanctions the estimates. The board has sanctioned that thing when we went to New York. So I just wanted to drive home that point. Last question then, that statement, you answered my question, 2.2 versus 1.7, somewhere in the middle. Because again, this inflation, I know we hear the narrative, but it's going to, may not be a recession, but it is going to contract. It will contract. It's already contracting. And things are still inflating. So I'm setting expectations. Y'all better get, and I know we've got leadership here that will help us guide us through this process. But I'm impressed by what you guys are doing, and y'all keeping up, y'all doing a yeoman's job. Last question, fire EMS. Where we at with that fire station?
Actually, I'll bring Terry Gable up here because
I know
we're
Terry
getting
a
ready
chance.
to start.
Come on, Terry.
Everything for that one.
Yeah, that's fine. Terry, come on, shake
And
me
she-
that
and Fire
out
Chief
there.
is here as well.
Number 9, talk to me. Status.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. So Fire 9, we're knee-deep in the design, Commissioner. One thing we've been waiting on was to get a geotechnical firm on board, which we just did. They were actually supposed to start today to go out to the site and start doing some borings that will be needed for the design team to finish out the plans. So once that's done, our expectations right now is to hopefully get this project out on the street March or April. That's the schedule that the design team gave us.
That's for completion of design or beginning of construction?
That's completion of design, going out to bid, and to advertise for construction, March or April.
All right, so we do anticipate that in this loss, that 4 bays will go up. How long is it going to take, in your estimate? You know, I work.
The completion date, we're estimating May of 2024.
Okay, so I'll be able to see this coming to pass. May of 2024, and do you have equipment that's going to go in there? Is that part of the current SPLOST? Yes or no?
Yes. The chief is with the reforecast, getting back to the numbers, but right now his focus is on getting only the pieces that he needs for that fire station. We've got some additional pieces that were in the original SPLOST that we're holding back on. He wants to make sure he's got what he needs in Fire Station 9 to make it whole.
You know, the fire station, as far as the vertical, you know, we had the community center, the senior center, and this fire station were very important verticals in this SPLOST. They were expressed, maybe not tier 1 like the library is in the current SPLOST, but they still were expressed enough for the board perspective, like, okay, these got to go. They must come to pass. You have something for the youth, something for the seniors, and something for the commercial, which is like, look, we got all this money out here on Thornton Road. Y'all got to get us we tired of the mutual aid over here in Austell. Right, so here we are, good, no problem. But as I watch this play out, and again, back to the program management guys and staff, we get happy with spending. And it's up for the board to put controls in place. Like, back up, guys, you got to deliver this. You can't get all the way down here and you didn't build this fire station and you spread stuff all over the place because, again, we really didn't take care of business over time. We didn't maintain. This administration, I'm pleased to see, Madam Chair, that you guys have set the right priorities. Right? But you also have to make sure how you gonna get out here. And so, which brings my last point. You said we will have it built this SPLOST, which means we don't have to carry it over into the new one. You will have equipment in 16 that we don't have to carry over into the new one. Is that true or false?
That's true, Commissioner.
Very good. And then to my staff, my administrators, make sure that you have adequate staffing that goes into that. So in May of 2024, so that means that next year budget, you got like 6 months, make a note. How many people are going to go in there? Is the chief out there? He can yell out,
Yeah.
Is it 22, 33, 44?
Chief, if you could come forth, Chief.
This is for the public. We're closing out one and moving to another. I don't want no shenanigans and slippage and shifts. I don't want to compromise the new SPLOST for the old that it should have been done in the old. I want my public safety team to have enough room to do what they need to do in the current versus some type of slippage into the old. Can you finish, Chief? Give us
Yeah.
some background, please.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, Honorable Board of Commissioners, citizens. Dr. Corbin, Mr. Perry, and Ms. Tiffany. Basically, we are slotted to have 45 positions for that station, and we've already started to prepare and get ready for our personnel. So 45 is the number. Roughly it's 15 per shift. And in terms of the funding, thankful for the board, the commissioners for making the appropriations for the funding, but also we're working with with FEMA, federal government, in hopes of getting a grant, $10 million grant over 3 years. So we're not counting on that, but we're counting on it. But if it comes in, it's going to help augment what we're doing. But we already have the funding allocated by the board to get those positions pushed through and get them trained and everything.
No, and I appreciate that clarity. We have to budget just on what we control. Again, if you always get extra, we'll take it. But we can't budget, we can't discount the current expense and exposure based on what from a competitive perspective, that unless they're going to guarantee you that money, it's competitive.
Yes, sir.
We may or may not get it, so I appreciate that question. Guys, that was good enough. Again, I just, for our Madam CFO, pay attention. What was just committed and expressed during this, it's not necessarily a hearing, but it's a work session. My comments, I'm very sensitive to my time and my remaining time with you guys, and so I want to make sure I'm accurate. That they just expressed, we're going to have all the money for the building, all the assets go in, and you are properly staffed for this thing in this current cycle. So you got it. I know you hear me. Madam Chair, I yield. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Vice Chairman, you have the floor.
I think this question, thank you, Madam Chair. I think this question is for you, Mr. Gable. Probably because you see a lot further than I can see, but just on what has come in versus what we programmed and the cost of things, can you give me a relationship between what we program, what's coming in, but then the actual cost?
So right now, looking at the numbers, we're currently at, as of the November revenues, about 113 million is what we're at. We've received those. Dave and I have been working with the department heads with the reforecast and looking at the numbers and trying to make our best guess these last 4 months. We're the reforecast, not being too aggressive, we're looking at about 120 million total at the end of March. It would be, it would help if they come in higher than that with some of the projects that we're looking at and possibly some of the ones that Mr. Dukes, like in parks, is maybe trying to pick up. But it's right at 120 million. We've invoiced out and encumbered around 90 million is where we're at currently with the overall program. And with those projections in mind, it is positive right now. It looks real positive with the revenues coming in, and we're expecting December up next, and hopefully that'll be in the high threes. So keep our fingers crossed, as Commissioner Robinson said. No expectations. We're trying to hold it to what we were originally tasked to do on the priority list, and try to pick up any extras if it comes in higher.
Got you. So the cost of constructing and materials and and I know you guys did this, 4, 5, 6 years ago in trying to forecast what projects would actually cost versus what they're costing us now.
It's probably still 20% higher.
Okay.
Than what it was. And our real test is going to be Fire Station 9. We're hearing some pretty high numbers still that keep coming in. So we definitely got to be mindful of that. And the sooner we can get that bid out, March or April, it'll really set the stage for fire and what we can possibly pick up or not pick up as far as anything additional.
Got you.
So I think transportation is continuing to see projects coming in higher. Stewart Mill Road, for example. So the materials are still up. They're still pretty high, concrete being one. So it's, at this point, I don't think we've seen anything right now leveling out with inflation.
Okay. I just wanted to know that. So given that my colleague, Mr. Alcaraz, and I have public safety as one of the new SPLOS items, we wanted to make sure that we, took into consideration the possibility. Like, I'm hopeful that they will continue to go forward and we can get everything under the SPLOS, but I know we have to, we may have to have a carryover, and I'm pretty sure you guys will, keep us abreast of that if that happens to be the case, because it affects other departments within that public safety SPLOS list. So I just want to, I'm realistic, so I want you to really give me the numbers and really help us to forecast that better, because that's one of the things that the constituents voted as a top priority, which was public safety. And of course, fire EMS is a part of that, coroners is a part of that. Of course, our sheriff's office will take the bulk of that. But I just want to make sure that we are doing, right by the citizens, since they voted it in again, so.
We've got these 4 months left, and
Okay.
we'll be able to zero in. And we're working, and it's, the board knows, and David, we've been working real close with the department heads, and we've got the projects identified on the 2016 list that we don't see that are going to be able to get done. That'll be potential projects for the 2022 SPLOS. Some of them will be done in phases, like maybe the design phase and transportation. Some of those projects will be done, but not the construction. So those have been identified, and we've got them. We present them to the board.
Okay. Thank you so much for that, Madam Chair. You.
Okay, anything else? Board? Thank you so much, Mr. Good and Mr. Gable. All right, certainly, Board, I appreciate the legislative body making sure that the executive body keep the SPLOST revenues and expenses in a fair way. We've come this far by faith, and my sense of optimism and thinking big is contagious at some point. But I do want to just remind the board, our legislative body, that the executive team, I thank you all for, first of all, prompting our attention, but I am confident that the executive team will continue to manage the funds accordingly. And I know the inflation has put some pressure on all our expectations, but we are continuing to manage it. And I will say, as the executive body, as I said on that portion as well, sometimes I tend to think super big, so I really appreciate this legislative body when they reel me in a little bit, so thank you all for what you do. All right, we're going to move on to, we have our next presentation, which it will be tomorrow, Board of Commissioners. We will be swearing in the Youth Commission, and that will be held at our meeting tomorrow. We have our wonderful Youth Commission that are just so proud of all the great things they're doing here in Douglas County. And Tiffany Stewart-Stanley, who's our Assistant County Administrator, leads that effort along with her staff are doing a great job, and we look forward to swearing them in tomorrow. Next, we have approval of the minutes. Board, be prepared to approve the minutes tomorrow for commission meeting minutes of January 4th, 2023, our work session minutes of January 3rd, 2023, and the executive session minutes of January 3rd, 2023, and January 4th, 2023. We have next Board of Commissioners would be the financial report, and its acceptance of monthly financial budget report. I'm not sure what this is. Okay, the CFO, okay. Ramona Bivens, our CFO. I'm looking around like, wait a minute, I don't have a name on this one. Good morning, Madam CFO, how are you? Do we have a presentation? Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, and Commissioners. No, excuse me, no, we don't have a presentation. Basically, this is just to provide the board and the public with a copy of the monthly financial report that's discussed at the Finance Committee meeting each month for you all just to accept it as presented, so there won't be a presentation.
Okay,
Okay.
all right,
All right.
thank you.
You're
Any
welcome.
questions for our Madam CFO? Board? Okay. Commissioner Robinson, you have the floor.
No, thank you, Madam Chair. You know, one of the things, again, it's always about putting something on the table. And some things are not necessarily legislative in nature. Some of them are administrative. We go over the financial report, and we know citizens, they have an expectations for visibility. Not just expense reports, but all performance, not just with the Board of Commissioners, but across everybody. That is typically covered in our finance committee, but it's, I mean, who follows the finance committee? People are busy. You guys here, it's your job. 99% of the people are at work right now. You got our retirees and those people who have it like that that can sit here and follow us. But we need to make it very simple when they do check in that everything is there. And one thing is that our number one job is what? Fiduciary and what? Setting the budget. But the only time we really share with the people about our budget is what? When we're amending, we're dealing with the millage rate or the budget twice a year. Come on, guys. We can do better than that. And I think it's one of those where last year during our budget cycle, we agreed, and at least there was no disagreement, to be able to provide this study on a monthly basis, let everybody see how every department is doing. Are they making their numbers? Are they coming in on point? And so we appreciate this. Madam CFO came up with this as a way of just acceptance, guys. It's not a vote. It's just making visibility and transparency as being important. It's just that now every department will get to see this information at their leisure, that this will be provided. Where in our Dropbox? Where will they get this? Maybe if it's Madam Clerk or either one of y'all. How will people have access to this on a monthly basis, seeing that we're just going to acknowledge we're not going to go over it because we're going to continue to focus on it in finance? But where would they get this information from? How will you publish it?
Commissioner Robinson, I would like to have it posted on our website under the finance webpage with some of the other financial documents that we have posted there. I think a copy of our budget document is there, so this report should fall there, have a section titled Finance Reports, and under that link, each month finance report could be listed there.
Okay, so Madam Clerk, if you're, is Madam Clerk down there?
Yes, sir.
All right, so we're just trying to synchronize something, set an expectation. So she's going to have it on a PDF somewhere on her site. I got it. How will we make this work here in a legislative moment like the Board of Commissioners when we're accepting it as presented? Will this be part of the Dropbox package?
Yes,
or
sir.
I got to click a link and go somewhere to get it? I mean,
No, it will be part of your package, and it will also be a part of the citizens packet that they receive.
they get it too. Okay. That's all I need. I just want, again, this is nothing to vote on. Madam Chair, it's just all about transparency. Everybody across the board, not just your Board of Commissioners, not just your general government. It's everybody. Sheriff, judges, tax commissioners, you name it, they all get in the ring with us. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you so much, Commissioner Robinson. All right, any other questions for Madam CFO? All right, thank you, Madam CFO.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to our next item, which is tab number 5 and 6, Board Commissioners. We have 2 proclamations coming before us tomorrow, which is tab number 5 is in honor of the Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated on its 103rd anniversary. And then tab number 6 is proclaiming January 18th, 2023 is the Childhood Safety Day in Douglas County. So that proclamation will be read by Corian Nurse. We're going to move on to tab number 7, Board, which is under a topic of public hearings. We're going to go to tab number 7, which is public hearing for a certificate of compliance with the Metropolitan River Protection Act for property at 4275 Highway 166 in Douglas County, Georgia. And our manager of planning and zoning, Allison Duncan, is here this morning to speak on this topic. You have the floor, Allison.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Board of Commissioners. We do have another public hearing scheduled tomorrow evening. This is for a certificate of compliance with the Metropolitan River Protection Act. You will all recall that this is the 2,000-foot corridor along the Chattahoochee River. This has been reviewed by the Atlanta Regional Commission and has been found to be in compliance with the Chattahoochee River Corridor Act. Again, the property is 4275 Highway 166. This is in Commission District 3. The purpose is to build one single-family house on a 10-acre parcel, and staff does recommend that you approve this request for certificate of compliance, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Any questions, Board? Okay. All right, thank you. Do we have any county administrative business this morning? Dr. Corbin, you have anything to?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. All right. Any Deputy County Administrator, you have anything for us?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, Assistant County Administrator. Okay, we're going to move on to grants, which is tab number 8, authorization to accept 2 grants for Superior Court felony drug court in the amount of $47,359, and then also $8,700 to be used for emergency shelter for the accountability court participants for the first time period of October 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022, with no match required. Amend the budget if necessary and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Teresa Gordy, good morning.
This is Teresa. I'm Karen. But
Hi, Karen.
First, let me thank you all for having us and allowing us to continue to do the work that we do. But before we present our grants that are on this agenda, I would like to do a formal introduction with us as the new Accountability Court duo. My name is Karen Alexander, and I am the new Felony Accountability Court Administrator who took over when Tim Pruitt retired. This is Teresa Gordy, and she is the new Deputy Accountability Court Administrator. I want you all to know, the both of us, with an introduction into our work history and our experience with the accountability courts. I have almost 17 years of experience in the criminal justice field. I have spent the last 6 years with the Douglas County Accountability Courts, and I'm a proud Douglas County resident for the last 18 years.
And I'm Teresa Gordy. I also live here in Douglas County. I've been with the Accountability Courts for 3.5 years as the executive assistant before moving into this position. And I have about 20 years of experience in county government, juvenile justice, and some at the Public Defender's Office. So looking forward to this new opportunity.
And since our inception in 2015, we have grown from one program with the Felony Drug Court to now running 5 total courts, including Hope Court, Veterans Court, Opioid Court, and Reentry. In all courts combined, we currently have approximately 124 active participants, and we have successfully graduated 151 participants in all total courts. Each client that graduated had a back sentence of a minimum of 2 years they were facing when they made the choice to turn their lives around and become sober citizens in the community. Accountability courts are working across the country, turning citizens who are tax burdens to taxpayers, saving the county and the state countless dollars. Some of my favorite stories, just to give a glimpse of what we see on a daily basis, would be when I'm getting a sandwich at Jersey Mike's last week, and I run into a client who graduated in 2019. He was excited to show me his business card and to tell me about the construction company he owns and operates. 1/3 of clients come into the program homeless and without a GED or higher education. We have seen clients obtain medical assistant, paralegal, and diesel mechanic degrees, just to name a few. We have witnessed clients who lost custody of their children to DFACS, only to gain full custody back. We have witnessed clients who went from living at the homeless shelter to owning their own homes. We have witnessed clients who have been unemployed or underemployed get jobs at a livable wage and watch them take care of their families when they once didn't think that was possible. These are just some of the countless stories that I get to be a part of, that we get to be a part of each day, and I thank the board for your continued support in our efforts.
The 2 sub-grants that are on the agenda are a revision of the original grant to provide shelter to accountability court participants.
Okay, thank you so much, and also congratulations to you both on your roles, new roles. Karen Alexander, thank you, and then also Teresa Gordy, congratulations to both of you.
Thank you.
Board of Commissioners, you have any questions regarding this authorization for this grant? Uh-huh. Vice Chairman, you have the floor.
Thank you, ladies, for stepping up.
Thank you.
We heard great things about you. Yeah, so my question to you is in regards to the emergency shelter. It's hard finding shelter in Douglas County, even for those of us who have a job. How are you doing that? Like, what resources are you using to even be able to utilize the grant in that manner?
We have an agreement with the Comfort Inn here in Douglasville, and they
Okay.
house some of our participants for the time frame that they're allowed within this grant, which I think is 6 weeks. I can't remember. We're just coming in new to this.
Okay, no problem.
But that's been a struggle, to say the least, because a lot of hotels don't want to house our participants, plus there just isn't the availability.
Right.
But so far, the Comfort Inn has really been a great partner.
And we have, from the beginning, we have partnered with the shelter, local men and women's shelter. We have also operate the Judge's Village, as well as what we call Sanctuary Farmhouse, Sanctuary Cornerstone. So we have a transition plan for clients that come in And at one point, we operated about 36 homeless beds.
Wow, okay. That's good to know, and thank you for keeping it here in the county. I've heard so many horror stories where people had to get them outside the county because they just didn't have the space. So it's good to know that we do have a local hotel that's willing to do that. Do they suspend hotel motel tax for the county now that you're doing that?
Yes, they do.
Okay, good. All right. Very well. Thank you, ladies. I yield, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Vice Chairman Carthen. Any other remarks, board? Okay. Commissioner Robinson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Likewise, congratulations.
Thank
to
you.
both of you. Well done. Take us forward. Take us forward. You've seen us, you mentioned the time frame, 2015.
Yes, sir.
And you guys recall historically, that was right here. We had our first mental health forum. This year will be our 8th annual. I remember working with Chief Judge McLean at that time to push this forward. I mean, to see the DAs and the public defenders all in this room for the first time, we're talking about mental health and accountability, of course, at that time. And to watch it evolve over these past 8 years and spring into 5 or 6, 5 courts?
5.
Five courts. With veterans, DUI, drug,
Well,
mental, that different?
It would be more if you include the state court side. So we're on the felony court side, and we have the felony drug court. We have the Hope Court, which is the mental health court, but we renamed it Hope to helping our participants in the cycle is what it stands for.
Yes.
We have Veterans Court, which is new. And then we have a recently first operated opioid court in the state. And then we have a reentry program. That is 5.
Got it.
Yes.
Thank you for that clarity.
No problem.
And that was the whole point. But look at us. I mean, it's segmented based on need, obviously, and you're targeting what you should. And I'm proud of the board's commitment, Madam Chair, to creating an atmosphere and empowering the judicial side, helping them leverage their state dollars that they get, their federal dollars, as well as contributing to keeping these programs going. My question is, piggybacking on Madam Vice Chair, supportive services. I get the homeless. Is there a supportive services component to this? I get, when I roll in, I get it, but what else? Are you partnering with other, like CSB or anything like that?
Oh, yes, we have, we partner with the CSB, yes. We have a lot of community leaders. We also work with Ascension Ascension Counseling Services that handles all of our in-house training needs. We partner with, we have Inner Shoes. We have just a number of countless Loving Hands. It's just to name a few, but we partner with a lot of outside entities. We help clients come in and basically, as our counselor likes to say, we help not rehabilitate, but habilitate, because we show them how to live life normally.
I got you. And my last question again, and this deals with, again, you've got 8 years, give or take, it's all relative. We talk about success. And is it really working? I get the upside. I get we did well, and I get the stories that are important to sort of keep us going relatively. But does everybody get access equally to the programs? And I know it's not really your call, y'all are the administrative, I get it, but can you give us some insight, or at least to the public, that our intent is, we talk about opiate, but not marijuana, versus not marijuana, but something, other drug. Talk to us about that. Can you give us any insight? Is it an equal program for everybody to get access to, and how are they selected to go through the program?
Well, we have a drug court team, a Hope Court team. We all discuss in a manner. You have to have a certain background. You have to meet a certain risk need profile in order to qualify for the program. We take the highest risk and the highest need, but we do not take people with a background where you're violent or anything of that nature. So what happens is the district, yes, we have a ADA that sits on both teams. She is the gatekeeper of the cases first. She first looks over them. She decides whether, based off the criteria of the case, if it will be a good fit to bring before the team. Once it comes in, we discuss that client as a whole, and we take a vote whether we assess. And then once they have their assessment from our counselor, he brings it back to the team and says whether they will be a good fit for the program or not, and then we vote whether they come in.
Very good. Last question. It deals with reporting. Do you have to provide reporting on your grants, either to the federal or state, regarding, again, you got a 2-year program, 18-month program. People get started, 100 people. how many on average actually complete the process?
Well, we do have, like I said earlier, we have 151 that has graduated since 2015. But yes, we do have a reporting process. It's actually due this week, which we will be getting back to when we get there. But we do have to report on our grants, our numbers, and we are above national average.
As a condition of this, I'd like to get make sure the board gets full access to whatever reports you provide, so we can get better understanding.
Sure.
All right, Madam Chair, can we make sure that's part of the meeting minutes that the board will get a copy of their, it's just a one moment in time. I'm not looking for an annual or monthly reporting. I'm sure we all would like to be curious. Again, out of the 150 that are successful, was it 2,000 people that started? We got a 10% success rate, or, I mean, you know, again, we're great narrative, but how successful are we? And if there's something we can do to help, that's all I'm trying to get beneath this story.
We report on a quarterly basis, and we can provide you, if you want, once a year, what we provide to the city.
Good enough, thank you. Madam Chair, I yield, thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion, board? All right. You have tab number 9, so let me complete that as well. We'll read it. Authorization to accept a grant for Superior Court Felony Drug Court in the amount of $53,571 to be used for emergency shelter for accountability court participants for the time period of January 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2023, with no match required. Amend the budget if necessary and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Karen Alexander and Teresa Gordy, you have this topic as well. You have the floor.
Yes, this grant is a wind down from the previous grant. The Council of Accountability Court judges voted not to continue funding for the housing grant because it was a pass-through from DCA. And to be honest, it was so cumbersome for the state to report. DCA kept changing the rules about what they would reimburse and what they wouldn't. So the Council of Accountability Court judges voted not to continue the grant for 2023. This is funding for this number 9 item that's coming directly from the state to help us wind down those participants that are in our emergency housing right now so that they're just not put out. So we're working on that.
Okay. Any questions, board? All right. Sounds like some subsidized funding here.
Yes.
Okay. All right, if there, okay.
You want to go?
Commissioner Rose.
I'll yield to Madam Vice Chair.
I think we're thinking the same thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, so what, this is just a point of clarity, she'll close us out in my, so we're getting money from the state to help us reject funding from another source. Was that political or is it need-based? I get the bureaucracy, but isn't that what y'all are there for? Not you personally. Don't these grants allow program management, grant management? How is that money being, I'm just missing, why are we winding this down if there's a need? Because it sounds like it's symbolic that you're going after helping the homeless. We did it symbolically just for the moment, but now I don't want to do that no more. Where's the real commitment to this? And it's not you personally, just help us understand.
We had the same questions.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. The Department of Community Affairs, the federal agency, funneled this money through the state, through the Council of Accountability Court judges, then to pass it down to the counties. Well, during the process over the last 7-8 months or so, there was a misunderstanding between the Department of Community Affairs and the state on what was reimbursable and what was not, which got a lot of counties in a pinch because they were telling counties to spend the money on these things, and then when we were submitting the reimbursements, DCA was coming back and saying it was not reimbursable. So at the Council of Accountability Court judges, which Judge Adams sits on the executive committee, voted not to accept any more funding after January 1st of this year. So what's happened is the state, the Council of Accountability Court judges, had another pot of money that they're just dispersing out to the counties to help us wind down where this previous grant, so that we're just not putting people out in the cold, literally. And there's a tremendous need, and I've worked in other counties and I've seen this, it's the same need across all counties. It's just Douglas is very lucky that we have the shelters, we have Sanctuary Village, we have Cornerstone. A lot of counties have nothing. So we're very lucky in that aspect.
So initially, we were operating our own way of having housing. Like I said, the wind down from the shelters to our own three places. Then when this grant came along, it allowed us to open up to use the Comfort Inn. So it was a great thing, and then it was like she said, oops, give it back. So now it's time to give it back, and then we'll just go back to what our original goals were, which above all else, other counties, we were doing way better.
Okay, so you're being made whole, basically. So if you don't get reimbursed and you spent the money, it comes out of somebody's pocket,
Yes.
right? Which is the board, general government, or wherever. And so they're saying, hey, we're going to cover you for this because if we made a mistake, we didn't have clarity. Okay, fine. So they're helping. But then how will you sustain this? Because if you're not going to take the grant going forward, that means there is not going to be any support. You don't have to answer it now, and I'm okay. We can take this offline. It just made me think, thank you for what you're doing, but it leaves us exposed, like, okay, but because it's a function of money coming from on high. I get it. You can't get ahead of that. But it just makes me think, but this is important. And is there some type of other committed funding? See, when I think about CSB, I think about 3 to 5 years out. Are y'all really committed, or is it just based on funding of an immediate round? And that's always like, okay, guys, either you're committed or you're not. At least give it some type of window of time versus, I don't know, maybe I will, maybe I won't. And so you're inconsistent in meeting the needs of the public through service. It's inconsistent, but I'm okay. It's not you guys' issue per se, but I'm just talking out loud. I'm going to yield the floor. That's good enough. Madam Chair, I yield. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner Robinson. Vice Chairman Carthen, you have the floor.
You guys answered it because I was just thinking, okay, once it, goes away and you're winding it down, you still have a need. So, the Department of Cultural Affairs is there to actually help us to augment these services. And so are they not having judicial, judges on the board of DCA? It doesn't make sense to me because we're expending the services, right? We're expending the money for the services, right? It's not like you're putting it in your pocket. You're actually putting it on the people that they say spend it for. So that just boggles me that, you're turning in receipts, but they're saying, no, these are not reimbursable items.
It's my understanding, it's kind of trickled down, that the person who was in charge of this at the Department of Cultural Community Affairs basically put out the wrong parameters on the grant. They made a mistake from the get-go.
Okay.
As far as what should have been allowable and what should not have been.
Got you.
And then, of course, now it's affecting the Council of Accountability Court judges.
Okay.
And I've taken 2 or 3 staff, full-time, for months, trying to sort it all out between all the different counties, submitting requests for reimbursement. So it's been quite the cumbersome ordeal.
I bet. Okay. Got you. Well, thank you so much. I yield, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you so much, and thank you all so much for coming in today. You're welcome. We're going to move on to tab number 10. Tab number 10, Board, is authorization to accept a grant in the amount of $2,000 for programming at the Fairburn Road, Douglas County Senior Center from Thanks Mom and Dad Fund in partnership with the DHS Division of Aging Services for the Senior Center Modernization and Innovation Grants, and amend the budget and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Dr. Gilchrist, you have the floor.
Good morning, Madam Chair,
Good morning.
members of the board. Before I discuss the grant, I would like to say thank you all so much for your support yesterday. It was greatly appreciated. As we welcomed Senator John Ossoff to the Spring Senior Center and honored our home-delivered meals volunteers. So thank you all so much. Really appreciate that. So the Thanks Mom and Dad Foundation is an organization that supports programs for older adults. This is our second year receiving this grant of $2,000. We use it to fund a pound exercise class. We used that to fund it last year. So this year, we will also be able to fund a pound exercise class and Zumba toning. So it helps us to pay for our instructors.
Okay. Any questions, Board? No questions about exercising? That's great. Okay. We're good. Thank you so much, Dr. Gilchrist. Board, we can move right into our business items. We'll start with tab number 11, authorization to renew a contract with the Department of Human Services for Juvenile Programs Administration Department's Family Treatment Court to continue to be a drug screening provider for Douglas County Division of Family and Children's Services for the period of 7/1/23, which is July 1st, 23, through June 30th, 2024, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Director King, Jennifer King, you have the floor.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, everyone.
morning.
This is a contract we've been doing every year with DHS to provide drug screening services for our local DFACS office. They've sort of changed their procedures a little bit, and these are kind of pre-application documents, if that makes sense. A few things that just need to be signed off on for us to then pursue next year's contract, probably in a few months.
Okay, any questions, board? Vice Chairman Carthen, you have the floor.
I'm just curious, you may not know the answer to this. Do you all have to bid for this contract, or is it just kind of automatic that because you are the government, we are the government, that we're able to provide the
Yes.
service for DFACS?
A couple of years ago, DHS decided to offer this to family treatment courts in particular.
Okay.
Because we kind of had it down, had the science down and the ways to do all of it that is more cost-effective to them. So they offered it to FTCs, and we signed up to do it. It's pretty easy.
Yeah, it makes sense because we were already doing it, so I just wondered about that. Thank you. I yield, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you so much, Vice Chair. Any other remarks, board? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Board, we're going to move to tab number 12, which is approval of a memorandum of agreement with Georgia Department of Transportation for roadway lighting on State Route 166 and Duncan Memorial Highway at Tyree Road, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Our Director, Sulman Rana. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chairman and Board of Commissioners. So this agreement is a part of the lighting efforts that are funded by SPLOST 2016. So far, we have lighted various intersections, and we've brought before the board various other contracts, and this is just part of the same series of contracts that we're signing with GDOT in order for us to add streetlights to various state routes or GDOT-owned roadways. This specific contract is for State Route 166 at Tyree Road, and we're proposing 6 streetlights for this intersection.
Okay. Any questions, board? All right. Okay. Got one question. Commissioner Robinson, you have the floor.
He's director, did he get promoted? Is
Oh,
he
I'm
director?
sorry.
No, it's okay, I'm asking clarity. Is he director?
Not at this time, but we will make sure that it may be in the works one day. He's doing a fabulous job.
No problem, I support Deputy Director Ron, he knows that, but I just wanted to make sure for clarity that there was no,
Deputy
something
Director.
happened that I just
Yeah.
missed. Okay,
There
we're
we
good. Thank you, Madam Chair.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just
All right, thank you so much, Deputy Director. All right, we're going to move on to tab number 13. We have our Fire Chief Jolivet coming forth. We have authorization to accept an anonymous donation to the Douglas County Fire Department in the amount of $10,000 received in the form of a check and amend the budget. Chief Jolivet, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, Honorable Commissioners, Mr. Dr. David Corbin, County Administrator, DCA Perry, Jimmy Stewart Stanley, most importantly, our citizens. Thank you for allowing us to serve you. This gracious donation is something that's given around the country to different departments and all, and every year, for the last several years, they've been giving us, donating $5,000, and they have doubled that this year. But most importantly, for the record, I'd like to thank the board for everything you do for us and for giving us what we need to take care of our citizens. And if this is accepted, it would just enhance what we're doing. And we have adopted the 16 firefighter life safety initiatives, and number 12 is dealing with the public education and in terms of preparedness. And so this will enhance our public education messaging, and we'll look at man-made disasters as well as chemical, biological, and also natural disasters. So we're looking at enhancing our preparedness and our messaging to our public so we can make sure they're safe as well. So this will go a long way with helping us with that.
Okay, thank you so much, Fire Chief. Any questions, board, or any remarks? Vice Chair, you have the floor.
My mind is just going this morning. I usually don't ask these many questions, but Chief Jolivet, When it comes to educating the public, do you all do CPR courses? I know lately there's been a lot in the news about, especially with the young football player who had an incident on the field. CPR comes into play with that. Do you all provide that for the constituents to help within their homes? Because it's quite a few minutes before you guys can get there, EMT, EMS, to get on the scene. So if we're equipping our citizens to be able to provide CPR care for those in their home, they have a greater chance of surviving by the time you guys get there. So.
Yes, ma'am, Vice Chair. What we're doing now is start a new initiative. We want to be able to provide that to the citizens once a quarter, where we'll have them come in and we can teach them CPR, and more importantly, we talk about the AED. Because right now, if anybody go down in this room right now, do we all know where the AED is? Mm-hmm. That's very important, that defibrillator, save lives.
Right.
And so we're looking at an initiative to where we'll offer this once a quarter. We do it now with some of our departments, with some of the daycares, but we're going to be doing this initiative because in this county and all over the country, really, cardiac arrest is happening more so now than it did a long time ago. So that's one of our initiatives. Thankful for our budget and our funding, and we're going to be actually doing that and getting it publicized and tracking the data on it. So we will be taking on that initiative.
Thank you so much. I look forward to that, and make sure you get it to all of us. I'd love to put it in my newsletter so that constituents would know, and of course I will sign up as well to take it. So thank you. I yield, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you so much, Commissioner Carthen. Any other remarks, Board? Certainly, I would just like to add, Chief, certainly, as the Vice Chair of the Fire and EMS Committee, certainly our Chairman is Commissioner Alcarez. And I was just wondering, is there an app out there that we can place on the phones? And, everybody has a tendency to use their phones. Maybe we can demonstrate a little bit what you do in the event that we do. There's a cardiac arrest or someone stops breathing. Is there something, an app on the phone that can just quick steps, do this, do that, hyperextend the head, blow? I'm just wondering if there's something like an app that can be placed on phones throughout Douglas County for our citizens.
Yes, ma'am. There is apps out there, and also in addition to the app, our E911, they actually walk people through it during the process, and that's been helpful. It saved a lot of lives. And but we will look into that to make sure that we get it out. That's going to be part of our public messaging, making sure everybody knows what they need to in order to be prepared and be ready. Because time, when I went to EMT school, I found out that time is tissue. The more time you take, the more tissue damage that's irreversible. So we will certainly put that on our to-do list and take care of that.
All right. Chairman of the Fire and EMS Committee, it sounds like a plan to you. You got any thoughts? Thank you, Commissioner. I need Vice Chair for bringing that to our attention about the quick response we needed for that CPR component.
Madam Chair. Chief, do we have anything to where we, talking about providing information to our constituents, our citizens, our county, do we have anything to where we work with our youth in the schools? My mind was just running, and I was just thinking about, we have a lack of people stepping up to become firefighters, police officers. Is there some way we could maybe get with the sheriff and form some sort of a committee or something we could do to reach into the schools to teach these young men and women what it is that you do and that your department does on a daily basis? When kids are starting to choose career paths, they look out there to all different types of things, and some, as you I'm sure have come across, they've come and employed and become a firefighter and then realize exactly what all that goes in. Everybody sees it on TV as you rush in, you save someone, but you don't see on the backside of what it entails of rolling up the hoses, washing the trucks, the hard maintenance, the things that you actually have to do. But I was just thinking maybe there's something we could do in our community to reach our young people to maybe help guide them if they're unsure of where they want to go in the direction of their life or what they want to become. I just think that would be something that it might be good to reach out to our young people.
Yes, Commissioner. What we've been doing in the past is we have a public education department, and also we go out to the schools and all. But also, we've been fortunate enough to partner with Lithia Springs High School, and we've been training a lot of those personnel to become EMTs, and they are actually on the force now. We have a lot of students that have graduated, and they're on the force doing EMT stuff, taking care of the community. But we will look at other initiatives. One that I like is the CERT team, Citizen Emergency Response Team, and they have a team for the youth, and it's a national certification program. And what you do is you have classes, you get the youth involved, and they're able to learn some support functions, and eventually that will roll over into the possibly recruitment and retaining our people right here in this county. So we'll certainly take that and work with it and make sure we can operationalize it, and because anything we can do to help our community, we're all for it. So we'll take that and we'll run with it.
Perfect. Thank you for that information, Chief.
Yes, sir.
I yield back. Madam
Okay,
Chair.
thank you so much, Commissioner Alcaraz. All right, if there are no questions, thank you, Chief, for taking the matters that we discussed under consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we're going to move on to tab number 14, authorization to approve the 2023 annual contract with the West Georgia Regional Library System for providing shared services in the amount of $40,000 and library materials, computers, and software in the amount of $330,000 for the Douglas County Public Libraries. The total amount is $370,000 to be funded through the 2023 budget, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents subject to final legal review. Director Moore, Lindy Moore, how are you? Happy
I'm
New
fine.
Year.
Good morning, everybody. Yes, this is our annual contract with the West Georgia Regional Library Service System. Shared services and $40,000. That's shared services includes the cataloging of our books, courier services, which transports the books between all 19 West Georgia Regional Libraries, and also our services between the Georgia Public Library Services and our Pine System. Materials and computers, that funding goes to purchasing of the books, the AV material, audiobooks, and e-materials. And that those figures break down to this year $140,000 in materials to Douglas County, $90,000 for Dog River, and $90,000 to Lithia Springs, and $10,000 is earmarked just for e-materials.
Okay. Any questions, board? All right, thank you so much. One question. Vice Chairman has a question for you.
Good morning. My question to you, Lindsay, is do the county picks up all of those services, or do each city also provide? Is this just a county function? Or-
Each county provides shared services to the region for their own county support.
Okay. And so the cities don't pitch in for that. It's strictly a county function.
It depends, really,
Okay.
on each library system, each library grouping, county, whatever, part of the system, they have different fundings, like the city of Villa Rica contributes to Carroll County, so they both have funding into the region. Bremen, the city of Bremen contributes along with Haralson County. It just depends on which.
On what the county and the city has agreed
Exactly.
upon as shared services.
Yes,
Okay.
we don't currently have any, the city of Douglasville does not contribute any money towards our services.
Got you. Thank you. That's good to know. I yield, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you so much, Vice Chairman. Okay, Commissioner Robinson, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you for that, operating those numbers, separating the contribution, but that was a good point. Like Commissioner Alcaraz, sometimes just listening, it triggers other thoughts. So the library is a shared service amongst cities and counties, shared. So I'm going back to SDS. I know that we have 64 functions of government. Everything from cities contributing to jails, did we revisit that? Cities contributing to elections, did we revisit that? Cities contributing to libraries, do they or do not? It's just making me think. You're triggering something about fair share and who carries what. Libraries are important. We've got perhaps a new library that's coming on board. And do we anticipate these things as we're thinking? Are we transactional or do we think strategic? Are we arguing for argument's sake or do we really plan? Do we do the work? And you're giving me some good data. So I got to take this offline because I know you've got this, you've got a history of knowledge that I think is going to be relevant for our planning for this new library, this Tier 1, and its impact. The operating costs. It's not just sort of the transaction that gets it built, but what does it really mean long term, and who benefits, who should be contributing to this? And we as legislators, we have opportunities and window of times to balance things. And it locks us for 10, 15, 20 years sometime. Do your job, is my point. This is, you uncover something here. And so, do you have enough? Is there enough contribution to make the library system better? And I want you to be honest. I get state, I get all that, but if you had this moment to tell us, can we do better? Do we need more? Speak.
Of course, I'd always say we need more money, but the Selman Drive Library is in desperate need of renovation. Anyone who walks in the building knows that desperately needs to be done. If we had additional funding, even a few $100,000 we can do things with that. We can renovate, we can refurbish some items. Now, I'll always ask for as much as we could possibly get, but we appreciate anything that we do get. In the past, the City of Douglasville did contribute. I don't know that was all before my time. I don't know if there was any agreements. They used to contribute $3,000 a year. Then that was cut down to $1,000 a year compared to almost $2 million that the county puts towards the libraries. So we have been attempting to reach out with the mayor. Our meeting has been rescheduled several times, and then we just keep getting passed down the line a little bit. So hopefully we can work out something with the backing of the commissioners. Myself and the regional library director have been reaching out, and we haven't been successful in scheduling and actually meeting yet.
No, thank you for your honesty. And to that point, we've got intergovernmental committees. We've got, we've got commissioners with relationships with other elected officials there. The chair to the mayor. 2 million versus 1,000. Really? And yet we talk great narrative. Great offsetting taxpayer dollars and not raising millage rates, but we're carrying, but again, if the board is conscious in its desire to invest in its cities and that we'll carry it, know that. Be conscious about it. But don't have a false narrative that suggests that we did a good job in negotiating this. Because I'm looking at this like, wow, look at that disparity. Who is the master at the table? Like the city, woo. I mean, wow, guys. Are y'all not looking at this? And then you can do about it right now. You locked up for 10 years. But you need to learn these object lessons for the future. So for those who may look at these tapes later, do the work. Really get in there and look at these things. And when you talk about balance, it's a great public narrative. It's a great political narrative. But I want to see some work. Show me. Don't tell me. I'm listening to your staff member chair. They're sitting up there. That's all they give? And they can't even have a meeting? And we're being played like that, but yet we're so great at negotiating. And so either somebody is being hoodwinked or bamboozled, or you really don't care. Either you don't care or you don't get it. That here staff is, and we're carrying this, and yet it's important, and we just keep overlooking it. And it's like, and that's why I had to push, say it. So sometimes things need to be raised to a level that, okay, are y'all paying attention? Or are you just in your bubbles? That there's a real need out here and that it's imbalanced. But then we want to know why we don't have enough resources in other areas, because you got some areas that's carrying too much that it shouldn't, that it could be spread out to other areas. Thank you. You did well. Madam Chair, I yield.
All right, thank you so much, Commissioner Robinson. Any other remarks, Board? All right, thank you so much. And we look forward to the mobile library. Is that still in the works? Any thoughts on that or updates for the Board?
For the new library?
For the mobile?
Oh, for the mobile library. Yes, we have that. We've turned it over to Grants to look and make sure that it meets all of the ARPA guidelines, and we should be hearing back from that very soon.
Okay.
We're really excited. Hopefully, we'll get that going before summer, and we can really reach the community this summer.
Okay, and it's for our underserved communities?
Yes, it's for the underserved communities all through the county. We definitely need more libraries. You look, in the West Georgia region, we have the fewest amount of libraries out of our 19 library system. We have the fewest in Douglas County. Even Harrelson and Hurd, they have more than we do, or right equal, and our population is significantly larger. So there are many areas of the county that are not being served equally, and even if there is a library in their area, they can't get to us. So by bringing the library out to the public, we'll be able to engage and really get them involved. And we just launched the Play Card system, which allows every student in Douglas County school system, they have their own library card, regardless of if they had a card in the past or if they had fines or whatever. This is a free card. It has a few different regulations with it. It has a fewer number of checkouts than you can't check out 50 items on it, but there's no fines or fees if things are returned within a reasonable time. I think the timing is like a month. You have books for the month. So with the bookmobile, we'll be able to go out and make a schedule. Say the first Tuesday of every month, we're going to be at this place. The first Wednesday, just schedule that around so we can really reach out to our patrons.
Thank you so much,
Madam Chair.
Director Moore. Commissioner Alcaraz, you have the floor.
Just so that our constituents of the county, our citizens of the county know, there is a mobile app, correct? To where people can go and check out books online. They can see which books are at which facility if they're looking for a particular book. Do you mind so our citizens know, just explaining about that for just one moment, please?
Sure. The Pines app is our library system online. You can renew books, you can place holds, you can pay fines. All of that is available online. You can see where books are anywhere in the state. And recently, we have in the past, you wouldn't be able to check out a DVD that was in Savannah. We could usually exchange books, but not AV material. That has been removed, and so now we can request any item that a library has can be requested to be sent from all over the state. We also have our Libby app, which is fabulous. It has all of our ebooks, and we have several other apps that you can do ebooks, e-audiobooks, movies, and music. So we've got lots of resources. Even when the library is not open, you can still access our resources online.
Perfect. Thank you. I go back, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you so much, Commissioner Alcaraz, and thank you so much, Director Moore. Just want to thank you for reiterating there is that libraries are still relevant in our society, and making it plain and clear to this board that there is additional need for additional libraries here in Douglas County because we are short in comparison to others. And some of those other counties are smaller than our county, and you talked about us having a larger footprint, more population. We have a larger population here in Douglas County, so yeah, there's opportunity. So I know sometimes there's a little noise about libraries, and we just want our citizens to know that libraries are still relevant, and we need those libraries to help education continue to flourish in our county, because we do want to continue to compete on all aspects, not only just economically, but educationally and all things of that sort. So thank you for bringing this to our attention. And then also about the library, Douglas County Selman Drive needs renovation. The one at Lithia Springs needs some renovation. And then also we looking at we have dollars for our facilities component of the new 2023 SPLOST. And hopefully the board will allow me to have some discussions about those libraries. And then if we continue to modernize them and make them look fresh, like the one at Dog River is continuing to hold its own, and hopefully we continue to do so. So
Yes,
thank you.
thank you. The Selman Library is older than the majority of our staff, so.
Wow.
Our furniture is older than the staff, and we want to bring that up to date.
Okay, well, we look forward to great things coming forward in the future for our libraries, and thank you and your staff for what you do. I do come and visit the libraries occasionally, and I'm telling you, I'm just proud of what I see in terms of your staff, and then also the great customer service that's provided, so thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Board of Commissioners, we're going to move on to our next tab, which is tab number 15, which I've asked our Director Price, Mark Price, if you could come forth. I love to engage with the executive team, and they'll tell you it's not a moment in time when we have a discussion that I'm probing, asking questions, and myself and Director Price, Mark Price, had conversations about a fire panel. I'm not an engineer, but I certainly have an ear, and he said we had an emergency on hand, and I asked him to bring this emergency before the board and also for the public, if you could tell them what we need.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Board of Commissioners. This isn't, well, it is an emergency, but we can discuss that. The courthouse's original fire panel is from 1997, and shortly after it was installed, the panel is no longer in production by Simplex Grinnell. The parts are becoming increasingly difficult to find. During our annual inspection, which was exactly 1 year ago today, we had some discrepancies, which is not unusual. But what was unusual is that it took about 6 months for our contractor to get the parts in to replace it. And this is probably part post-COVID market, and because the panel and the peripherals are no longer available, it's just becoming more difficult to get the parts to repair. We're currently experiencing several trouble lights from the panel. And I'll try to be brief on my explanation. A trouble alarm tells you that there's trouble in the system. It's not a fire alarm. And it sends a signal down to the command center where the deputies monitor it. And it's an alarm, and they have to manually acknowledge it. We're getting those weekly, which is becoming a distraction to the deputies. These are false alarms. So our panel is failing, the display is failing, and we just need to get this panel replaced. I understand that funding is an issue, and it was tabbed for this year. The issues that I'm explaining have been occurring since last summer. So first off, the courthouse is safe. I would not be able to sleep at night if I didn't think the panel, that the courthouse wasn't being protected. But we're having more issues daily or weekly with the panel, and it's just time to get it replaced. I can answer any questions if you have them.
Okay, thank you so much, Director Price. And also on that funding component, if we could have Rosalind Miller come forth, because we called and had questions for her funding-wise, and she identified a funding source, Board of Commissioners, that I think that would probably be quite soothing to your ears. And then we'll talk about, then I'll allow you all to ask questions to Mark Price. There you go.
Yes, good morning. As you may be aware, last year's your capital funding budget, there was remaining of $350,000 that the board did not allocate, so it's in fund balance, but it is tied for capital. That is a funding source for this emergency, or for this year's capital. The board has not allocated funds yet. We're waiting for us to kind of get close to year end so we can identify exactly how much is capital. However, you would have to wait until about March to allocate funds, and since it's an emergency, that's what we recommend, using last year's remaining funds of $350,000 or a portion. I'm not sure if you need it all.
Well, we need it all once the job's done.
Okay. So you
I
have,
don't know what the procurement process is. I would like, even if the funds aren't immediately available, I'm sorry, even if the funds aren't immediately available, I would like to proceed with the bidding process because it's going to take about 4 to 5 weeks at minimum to get the scope of work and the bids out and the bids in. And then I'd like to be ready to pull the trigger if the funding is available once we get the bids in. So I guess as far as funding, we wouldn't need the money until the job is completed, which is going to be a long process too, several weeks.
Okay. Board of Commissioners, any questions? Commissioner Robinson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. All right, I get it. I mean, everything ages out. Again, maintenance, thank you for bringing this forward, so I don't have any objections with that. All right, but I'm still back to, you have to assign a dollar amount. You just can't have blank checks. I know we got to get it done, but you got to give us a framework. And so, Madam Chair, administration, and maybe the new our county administrator, Dr. Corbin, we just got to get better at this. You're asking us to make major decisions, capital expenditures. I just want to get the process going. I get you. That's administrative. But we're the ones that, okay, well, how much money is going to roll over? And if he's saying he may need more than 350, well, what if there's nothing left when she reconciles the books in 2 months? It's 600,000. That means I'm 250 short, which means, well, I got to pull that from where? Oh, fund balance. I'm fine, but y'all got to do better when y'all bring these things before us to make real decisions. Yes, we're going to move forward, but I shouldn't have to do this. It should be presented to us. Y'all should be presenting how this will play out. If it's an emergency, I get it. I don't object to, we can get this done, but we got to get better, y'all, as a team, as the executives, Madam Chair, as you just said, the executive team has to come together with these narratives that, like, okay, show it out. So we don't have to sit here and like, okay, but, because it didn't take me long to figure out, like, okay, y'all ain't even on the same page on how much it's going to cost. But y'all want to go to bid. Y'all going to get us exposed out there with liability. Says, okay, well, we committed to this project. They come back. You don't have to get involved, Director Abrams. I get it. Can y'all help us out? And we're moving that fast because it's an emergency. No problem. No different than Director Milholland. It is what it is. It's emergency. But can y'all help us do better in understanding what the impact is, the fiscal impact? The fiscal impact. What does this mean to us? And that's all. And as you do it, just to replace the panel, is there something that's anticipatory? Oh, are y'all going to really rebuild this courthouse or not? Are we going to really move or not in this SPLOST? Maybe not, don't have enough money. But that means you still got to redo this courthouse. Are you taking that into effect that, okay, whatever you do, you're going to redo this courthouse in some type of fashion? Is this just a one-off decision, or is this something holistic? Don't answer it now, because if you can't, I want a real answer to this. If by tomorrow, Madam Chair, can we get an answer? Can you get your team to think about what I just said? It says, okay, guys, because we are making real decisions on facilities. Yes, that's part of the SPLOST discussion in 20 minutes. But you got this emergency that's going down right now. Who sees the whole picture and who's lining this up? I yield. They don't have to answer. I'm just forcing the point to be ready tomorrow. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. If you could, Director Price, you did have a ballpark figure that you discussed with me, and
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
what
ma'am.
was that
And I did
price?
request $200,000 in my budget proposal for this year, and I understand that it was tabbed. The ballpark figure I have, and this is based on a proposal from Johnson Controls, was $197,000. I rounded that up to $200,000, which was my budget request. And I'm currently requesting, I'd like to have $250 just to cover any cost increase, because this was based on an August estimate. We probably could do it for $200,000. So the ballpark is $200,000 to $250,000.
okay, you have the floor.
Okay, but again, all right, so procurement 101. Now, how are you going out? How you get these estimates, and how is this binding us without a formal RFP process? How does that work? I guess we're going to make a phone call. We can ask. Everybody got friends. I get it. Think about what you're saying here. What now? How does this work? You got Johnson Controls, they get the free, I got it, they get a little commercial here. Now, I've heard two things, you may need more than the 350, that's what I'm saying, it's moving. It keeps moving. And if you're gonna do an RFP process and stuff, then put that out there, that's what I'm saying, I don't, y'all are not on the same page, and I'm just making a point, we've gotta become more, this is the year of the Maturity Act. And so we're gonna have to further tighten up, guys. Y'all can't just come before us. Y'all haven't talked to the procurement officer to line this up. Well, what's it gonna cost me? Well, it looks like he already got the quote. But I thought the quote process that you just put out earlier this month says you gotta do it this way. Are we even reading what we're putting out? Are we just going through the motions? Of course, I'm very conscious of the RFQ process. Well, I'm extremely serious. I'm not joking. And you got to be sensitive to what the board has to look at. So, Madam Chair, one more time, tomorrow, can we just come back, be cleaner about what's really being asked? I'm not objecting, but I guess y'all know y'all get my point.
Yeah, Procurement
Madam Chair.
Director, do you have any, I would love you to add, certainly. Again, we have an emergency. I'm in surgical mode, and when I have an emergency, we have to move out. You're getting some indicators in the cockpit that we are on borrowed time, and I'm making it clear to this board we are on borrowed time, and I want us to move. So if you could give us an update, Director Amons, purchasing, how we.
Hello, good morning,
planning.
Madam Chair, Vice Chair, the Board, and the community. Regarding the fire panel, we did meet approximately a week ago, and so we are going to put this out for bid. So just if a company does provide a quote, we always tell them that it is not final, it's just a quote. We are not making a legal obligation to contract with that particular vendor. And so sometimes we do have in the procurement world what's called also a request for information. So sometimes we do reach out to the experts to say, can you give us some guidance or some guidelines? But we do not guarantee that we're going to do business with the vendor. And sometimes it is needed just for some projections as far as budgeting. But we are going to put this out to bid. I will make it a high priority to put it out. It will go out on the Georgia Procurement Registry. So every company that has registered with the Georgia Procurement Registry will have the ability to bid, as well as the electronic platform that we do use with BidNet. And so I am aware, in my office is moving forward and working with Mark to not only put this out for public bid for everyone to respond, but to also evaluate and get the best value for the county.
Okay. Thank you so much, Director, and certainly we'll work on it, and I have some additional information for the board tomorrow. Okay. Anything else?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, I just wanted to clarify that the bid that I got from Johnson Controls last year was for budget purposes only. It was not a bid, and they had no intention that this was going to be a job. We have to reach out to contractors when we need an idea of what we need to propose in our budget. And since we did have a Johnson Control panel, which is a Simplex, Johnson Controls bought out Simplex, I reached out to them for a budget number.
Okay, which makes sense. All right, thank you. Any other questions?
Madam Chair.
Okay. Wait,
Just a quick question.
Okay, Commissioner Alcaraz, you have the floor.
I understood, we're talking about, we have 350,000 left, but do we have any money left, like in a contingency fund for emergencies?
Rosalind, if you could come forth, we do, but she's just saying, I believe March is when we want to actually come up with the total number in terms of our calculation, determine how much is in there, but we do have money. If you could speak to emergency contingency funding.
Yeah, I guess in a sense, we have contingency funding that we budget for, but like for emergency and cash flow, we consider that the fund balance. So yes, we do have money for fund balance for emergencies such as this. But in contingency for 2023, you do have funding available, but you have kind of allocated the funds, anticipated for some of that contingency funds. So you wouldn't have enough of 350 for 2023. If so, you'll be taking all of it. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, I yield back, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Vice Chairman Carthen, you have the floor.
Yes, Director Price, can you just give me some background? How many times have you put this in your budget request? Because I don't remember seeing this item. Maybe,
This was the first time I put it
okay.
in my budget.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I just wanted to make sure.
Number one on the list.
Okay. And so it was tapped based on what the deputy county administrator, or do you know why it was not included? Did you get any feedback?
No, ma'am. No,
You
ma'am.
did?
I just requested, and I had it during my budget hearing, and I leave it up to the board to make these decisions.
You left it up to, okay, because this is for internal purposes, so I hope interim county administrator, you are listening to this? Okay, because these are items that we do need to see as a board, right? We could have anticipated this and moved the budget in a direction that would have allowed you to not have to be here this morning.
Yes, ma'am.
So these are the types of things that when I talk to my directors and when I talk to you guys out there, I need to know these things, right? They don't need to be hid from us because we are the ones who are legislating and then appropriating. So again, lesson learned. Yes, thank you.
And if you could, executive team, if you, when your budget submissions, the items that you submit, if you could just earmark, the item is emergency, if there's an emergency, that'll blare that we need to move quickly, just rather than just listing the items among the others, because we don't really know, we wouldn't have an indication, particularly the CFO and the purchasing team would not know, and then, of course, the executive team wouldn't know if it was an emergency. But thank you for bringing it to my attention, and I said that I would bring it before the board to see what we could do to move it along, because I don't like that the lights are coming on, and even though it's false indication, but what happens when we truly have an indication? So we just want to address it, and I hope the board will work with me on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Commissioner Robinson, you have the floor.
And I may take this to the Finance Committee, but specifically rules of engagement around, there need to be some type of declaration by Madam Chair that this is an emergency. And so if it's an emergency, then it automatically should go to our fund balance, which is our rainy day. When you put stuff before us saying go into the capital improvement plan, I'm like, gosh, we had that assigned for other things that we've already thought about. And you will compromise this just by an emergency? Well, you got that big fund balance over there. That's what that's for. You're sitting on all that cash, right? So I'm sitting here going down the list, like you got other sources, but like, why would we take it out of capital improvement? We're stacking that up a little bit as a savings just to do things that were strategic, and you'll use an emergency for some panels that you really could do out of your fund balance, which is what it's for. It's not your fault. And to your point, contingency, we blow through that with about mid-year with consulting, all types of stuff. To your point, we do have a contingency bucket. So there's a capital improvement plan bucket, there's a contingency bucket, and you got the fund balance. Know the buckets, guys. And when you come before us, know how you frame this and how we engage these. So it's something I'll take up later. Yeah, I'm sure we got to go. But still, here we are listening. It's like Congress would buy, like, okay, but it's how you're doing it, not what you're doing. And we're the ones that have to appropriate this, and we want to make sure where we're going to pull this from. That's all. And so we're just asking the right questions. So you guys got time to figure this out. But again, where should it appropriately come from? If it's an emergency, like if Jason Milholland, we're not having this conversation. You got to clean up that mess that came through that storm. Got it. We know where to pull it from. Got it. But that's the nature of, an external. This is something that's internal that could have been anticipated. Operational maintenance. So where should it come? So I'd like to get a little bit more clarity for education for all of us. The guys, come correct. Like we're like trying to figure this out. Like, guys, well, this is why we're going down this path. You got 5 options, but this is the one that you should do. But you got 2, discretionarily, you call it. Talk us through it versus us having to force it. You guys are the subject matter experts, but I'm sitting here like, again, if I got to sit here and go through this, like, okay, I'll tell you which way you should go, but shouldn't you, with all this salary, tell us? All right, Madam Chair, I yield. You get it.
All right, thank you. We look forward to this item coming forth tomorrow. All right, tab number 16, SPLOSH 2022. Who's leading this topic? Dr. Corbin, are you leading SPLOST 2022?
Okay, Madam Chair?
Commissioner Robinson.
I got this. He's going to help out. All right, this is just a real quick, a placeholder for my peers. Again, SPLOST 2022, passed by the citizens of Douglas County to continue the conversation, continue the action in the community to, they gave us a funding source, obviously to move certain bodies of work forward regarding public safety, transportation, parks and rec, and facilities. Go think, facilities. Each one of these categories are basically being led by a chair, my peers, to come up with a set of numbers. We're on a timeline. Now, I know we have different meetings and committees not meeting. I don't really care. We're on time. And we have to get this together and finalize what's going to make the list, programming-wise. You pretty much know what the actual things are. You just got to pick a number. And you're not locked to it because, as you know, you can amend it up or down later. But we need this list. And so, Dr. Corbin, can you, I know you guys met last week as a kickoff regarding SPLOST 2022. You had the powers to be in the room. Can you set us and the full board and the public's expectation on a timeline to finalize this initial list that we plan to go to New York with to get rated in order to get the funding for to move our next set of initiatives forward? Can you just explain that briefly, sir?
Absolutely, Commissioner. Madam Chair, if you don't mind.
You have the floor.
We have had a couple of internal working group meetings at this point, and ultimately the goal is to have a couple of things done. One is to confirm the master CIP for the county. I think part of the discussion that we just had with respect to the fire panel really relates to us having a capital improvement plan approved by the board. That's step one. Step two, a subset of those projects are eligible for SPLOST funding. We're looking for the board within the next 30 days to help shape that discussion about what those priorities are. We're working on that list now. We're going to come back to the board for each board member for full discussion to confirm what those projects are on that list and which ones are shovel-ready, what can be funded with bond proceeds, and what must be done over a pay-as-you-go period. The third thing is we've reached out to the rating agencies. We've talked to Attorney Coleman. All of this process, we hope our goal is to have it completed by May 1. That's going to New York. That's pricing the bonds. That's getting all the program management in place necessary to move forward for the next 6 years.
Did that answer your question?
I was just framing up discussion for my peers that need their participation.
Okay.
He said next 30 days to get the list. And he wants to bring it back to us. And so without the committee's contribution, the board will settle. The committees are just making recommendations, but the board will settle. And I just want to, I want to say the other thing for the board. Your purchasing power is not what you think. That's why I emphasize in SPLOST 2016 versus the SPLOST 2022. Ain't that much going to go on this list, guys. You've got some carryover, and you got some hefty things. It ain't going to be as we felt good about 16. It was great. I get it. It ain't the same work this time. You ain't got the same purchasing power. So you need to settle it, though. We got a big, long list, and everything's not going to go. Get the politics and emotion out the way, and let's get this done. I foresee some things that's like, okay, this is not going to be necessary. But we need to settle this, and so I know we've got new team members, new shuffling, new understanding, but y'all got to settle this because we got to give staff what they need to do their job. And it's like, again, you guys know how this works. The board will settle it, so hopefully the committees will be clean about what they're doing, get the full board what it needs to reconcile so we can keep this thing going. So in event that you have to go out and talk to your constituents, you just can't just do this in the vacuum of your mind and show up at the last minute. There are other people that would like to see the full list, not just necessarily if you're the chair of a committee. It needs to be fully. Everybody needs to see everybody's list, get comfort with it, massage it into the public, make sure staff gets what they need, so that this doesn't necessarily come off the edges unnecessarily. So, Madam Chair, I just wanted to discuss that. Set expectations. Again, I know Dr. Corbin is here now. He's driving this, so I want to give him some cover by bringing it up, Madam Chair. That's all I want to do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner Robinson. Did you have something further to
Yeah,
add, Dr.
I did
Corbin?
want to clarify just for this discussion in the public. We are working off, this is not a new list. We had a list in June of a master CIP, and we also had a SPLOST list effective offered to you in June as well, number of projects that are on there. So this is not a new list. This is in the same list that we had before. It's just a matter we're confirming the dollar amounts and coming back to you to prioritize the existing list. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you for making a note of that. Thank you. All right, board, any other discussion of the SPLOST list? Okay, that concludes all our topics or tabs this morning, but certainly will yield to our county attorney to see if there's a need for executive session. Is there a need, Attorney Coleman?
Madam Chair, I would like to recommend executive session to discuss a personnel matter as well as potential litigation and real estate issues.
Okay. All right. Certainly, we will hold our executive session here in Citizen Hall to the citizens of Douglas County and also our the folks that are in the audience this morning, our citizens. Certainly, we will be taking a pause for the calls and ask that everybody leave the room at this time, or should I say the Citizens Hall area. Board, okay.
Attorney Coleman, would we need Director Dukes or Director Worthington for this session?
For one of the items, we will need both of them to be participants.
Okay. All right.
And we can address that item first if we make it easier.
Okay. Board of Commissioners, do we have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second.
We have a motion and a second in the discussion board. We have a motion and a second. When I call you districts, please respond accordingly. District 1?
Yes.
District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
Chairman, yes. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote, and the motion carries to go into executive session. All right, Board of Commissioners, we will prepare, and we'll wait till Thank you, Board of Commissioners and the citizens of Douglas County for allowing us to engage in our executive session. The executive session has ended, and we're back live. Certainly, Board of Commissioners, do you have anything to add before we close out? I certainly want to remind our citizens about COVID-19 and the status where we are, and certainly, again, every time we think that this virus is going to leave us alone, it tends to ramp up again. So just want to ask you to please be mindful of the 3 W's, and just make sure that you take precautions when necessary with the mask in those confined spaces. Wash your hands repeatedly throughout the day, and certainly watch your social distancing. I know I sound like a radio that's stuck on just keep talking and talking, but of course this is just something that I must continue to message as we deal and cope with COVID-19 in the United States. Also at 2 p.m. we have a Finance Committee meeting that will be in session. Our chairman of the Finance Committee, District 2 Commissioner Kelly Robinson, and myself as the vice chair will be hosting our Finance Committee meeting, and it will be Facebook Live, so we would like the participation and engagement of our citizens, and we look forward to seeing you today at 2 p.m. If there's nothing else to come before this body, Board of Commissioners, thank you for your time and talent today. This meeting is adjourned.